Radio.
Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. Before we get to the news and details, let's give you a rundown of our top story today. Oil spill from Yellowtail project could devastate Trinidad, Venezuela, Barbados and other nations. Chinese companies are lone bidders for new Harbour Bridge. 5 die in weekend accident, and husband confesses to choking Madia woman to death. 4 more unvaccinated persons die of COVID-19, and intoxicated GDF surgeon taken into custody after accident. And DPP orders inquest into death of teen killed with own knife. And also get a snippet of an op-ed. Draft local content legislation reveals government wants locals to supply almost 100% of steel and drilling services for oil sector. Stay tuned.
Weak systems of governance and the absence of the rule of law both combine to form the perfect stage for corruption to flourish. As part of our anti-corruption fight at Kaieteur Radio, we invite you to join us every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. as we embark on a most needed quest to remove the tentacles of corruption from our systems. See you then for our latest program called Governance, Corruption and Justice.
Hello, hi. Let me show you something lit. Get your free chats now with me. Tell me video and voice call. Discover and get, and that's not all. Cash and prices for all of us. It's exciting, it's fabulous. Translate, populate, locate, innovate, but shh. It's a secret, no need to keep it. You won't see me here again. 3, 2, 1. I'll see you in a bit. Download the app now for chat.
And now for the news in detail. Should an unmitigated oil spill occur at Eliza, that should be at ExxonMobil's 4th development project in the Stabroek block called Yellowtail, it could have far-reaching effects for Region 1 and 2. But the effects do not stop there. There can also be devastating implications for the marine life and ecosystems of nations such as Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. The foregoing risk was noted in ExxonMobil's environmental impact assessment, which was submitted to the EPA as part of the approval process for the project. According to the document, the project will be producing, processing, storing, and offloading oil as its core activity. As such, the risk of an oil spill would be present. ExxonMobil's subsidiary Esso said it identified 16 spill scenarios, including spills of different types of hydrocarbons, with several being applicable for spills at the shore bases and on vessels in the Demerara River, estuary, or the Atlantic Ocean. But the largest of these scenarios considered a loss of well control incident at the sea floor. In such a scenario, Esso said there is a 5 to 40% chance of the oil contacting coast in Region 1 and a 5 to 10% probability of the oil reaching Region 2. And now let's tell you 4 Chinese constructing firms are vying for the contract to design and build the new Demerara Harbour Bridge, a project which falls under the Public Works Ministry. Bids were opened again for this project on Friday at NPTAB. The Chinese-owned companies in question are China Gezuba Group Company Limited, China Road and Bridge Corporation, in a joint venture with Pretes and Calzadas Infrastructuras, SLU, China State Construction Engineering Corporation Limited, and China Railway Construction Corporation International Limited, who is a joint venture with China Railway Caribbean Company Limited and China Railway Engineering Bureau Group Company Limited. These companies were among the 5 that submitted technical and financial proposals to build and design the bridge when tenders were initially opened for the project on October 5th. The other company, which did not submit a tender Friday last, was Boscalis Guyana Inc., a non-Chinese company. Prior to that, these companies were among 9 international firms which were pre-qualified in March to bid for the construction of the new bridge. And now let's tell you, intoxicated GDF sergeant taken into custody after accident. A 36-year-old GDF sergeant, Kwesi Henderson, who was under the influence of alcohol, was taken into police custody following an accident which involved a 26-year-old motorcyclist. The accident occurred along the Bellevue Public Road on the west bank of Demerara. Critical is Tony Bagwandin of Stanleytown, West Bank, Demerara. The accident reportedly occurred on Saturday, about 21 hours 25. At the time, Henderson, a sergeant who is stationed at the base camp in Ghana, was driving a motor car while a motorcycle was driven by Bagwandin. According to police investigators, based on the ongoing investigation, Henderson was proceeding north on the western side of the road, while Bagwandin was proceeding in the same direction from behind at a fast rate of speed. Bagwandin reportedly lost control and slammed into the right side bumper of Henderson's vehicle. An investigation into the matter is ongoing. And moving on, a 33-year-old pork knocker, Marvin Verbeck, who had initially denied murdering his wife, a Mahdia businesswoman, on Wednesday last, has finally confessed to choking her to death. The woman he is accused of killing was identified as 47-year-old Denise Vera, a mother of 4. Vera was found dead around 13 hours 45 with blood oozing from her nose and mouth on the kitchen floor of her grocery shop located at Pepper Hill, Mahdia. Detectives had arrested her husband as their prime suspect. He had initially denied killing his wife, but eventually decided to tell detectives what happened on that day Vera died. It is understood that he started off by telling the cops that he did not mean to kill her. In other news, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shalimar Ali Haq, has ordered an inquest into the death of Roy Boston, the young man who was fatally stabbed at Swan Village back in August. On August 21st, Boston was killed after he allegedly stabbed 3 of his drinking partners during a brawl at a rum shop in Swan. When contacted recently, Commander of Division 4B Senior Superintendent Mahindra Sunarayan informed us that the file was returned and that an inquest was advised by the DPP to determine the circumstances of the teen's death. We understand that the accused was released in late August on $100,000 station bail. And more troubling news, 5 lives were claimed following 3 separate accidents that took place over the past weekend, 2 of which occurred on Saturday at Liliandale and Maikoni on the east coast of Demerara, and the other on Sunday at High Street, Work-and-Rust in the city. Around 22 hours 30 last Saturday, a motor car driven by 24-year-old Nazad Ali was proceeding west along the southern side of the railway embankment at Liliandale at a fast rate of speed. Ali, who was in the process of overtaking a motor car driven by Petal North, was unsuccessful in his attempt and as a result collided with the right side of the fender of North's vehicle. He then lost control and ended up in the path of a higher car. Ali was pronounced dead at the scene. And at Maikoni, around 22 hours 30 on October 16th, the driver of a motor car, 38-year-old Deotaran Das, along with 2 other occupants, Bikram Singh and 31-year-old male, a 31-year-old male rather, and 27-year-old Vishan Moti, were all imbibing alcohol at a friend's house. According to police, Das, after leaving the said location, was proceeding south along the eastern side of the Maikoni Branch Road at a fast rate when he reportedly failed to negotiate a sharp left turn and instead continued straight into the canal, which is situated on the northern side of the road. Moti, who was seated in the front passenger seat, managed to exit the vehicle, while Das and the other occupant, Singh, both died after they were trapped in the vehicle, which was submerged into the canal. And on High Street, 48-year-old Howard, a motorcyclist, lost his life yesterday while proceeding along the road at High Street, Workinrust, Georgetown, in the vicinity of Carnegie School of Home Economics around just after midnight. Howard was speeding south on High Street, Workinrust, on a motorcycle when he lost control and ended up in a concrete drain located on the eastern side of the said road. Howard was pinned by his motorcycle and pronounced dead soon after. And now for your COVID-19 update, followed by the promised op-ed by senior journalist and editor at Kaieteur News, Ms. Kiana Wilberg, followed by the page 7 of the Kaieteur News. The Ministry of Health yesterday announced that 4 more persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. As a result of this, Guyana's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 870. The country's latest fatalities are that of 4 unvaccinated individuals who all passed away on Saturday while receiving treatment at the medical facility. Meanwhile, 93 new COVID-19 infections were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 34,455. 28 patients are in the ICU, 123 persons are in institutional isolation, 3,702 in home isolation, and 4 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 29,732 recoveries have been recorded. Even though the local content law is still in the draft stage, the document seen by Kaieteur shows clearly that the PPPC government is determined to secure the participation of Guyanese in a wide cross-section of areas in the oil and gas industry. According to the draft document, the PPPC administration wants oil companies and their subcontractors to achieve local content targets ranging from as low as 10% to as high as 100% within 3 to 10 years. 2 of the areas where this is expected relate to materials and procurement as well as drilling services. In the former, the government is recommending that steel pipes, steel plates, flat sheets, etc. be secured from Guyanese. With respect to steel pipes, the draft legislation is proposing that oil companies and their subcontractors ensure locals account for 25% of the contracts awarded for this, with a ramp-up of 50% in 3 years, followed by 85% in 7 years and 100% in 10 years. In the space of 5 to 10 years, the government wants more than half of the contracts for the foregoing items to be procured from Guyanese. The government is proposing in its draft Local Content Act that Guyanese participate in 152 services for the oil sector. While we at Kaieteur commend the PPPC for being proactive in identifying all opportunities for locals to have access to, we ask that they put mechanisms in place to protect the people's interest. There must be stiff penalties for those who wish to defraud the system, for those who wish to escape local content obligations. If we are not wary of local content, that local content rather can easily become a plea field for fraudsters who seek to only use Guyanese as window dressing, then we are already starting off on the wrong foot. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226